the people of Ghana have had to endure. And I've seen the technical committee's report, advising against the cancellation of GPGC. And yet, government went ahead and cancelled it. And from what we're hearing, the representative of Trafigura, who were the owners of the plant, is a member of the family, and he had an internal dispute with another member of the family before they came into office. And so it was like, we'll show you. And so it had nothing to do with the people of Ghana. We were innocent, sitting out somewhere. And then two family members were fighting and decided to cancel it despite the best advice. And we'll be landed with $170 million debt. Our energy sector was once a beacon of progress, and it can be so again. Our energy sector was once a beacon of progress, and it can be so again. The challenges we face are significant, but they are not insurmountable. Together we can reset Ghana. Together we can rebuild Ghana's energy sector and put it back in its rightful place as the engine of our economic growth and national development. We can create a 24-hour economy, we can modernize our agriculture, and restore Ghana's West Africa energy hub vision that we had. We will ensure transparency and accountability in our energy institutions and ensure that every Ghanaian has access to affordable and reliable power. Corruption and opacity and underhand dealings in the sector will be a thing of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, stakeholders in the energy sector, under my watch, under the Mahama Nana Jane administration, the sector will cease to be a milking cow for a few relatives and cronies. Of the president and the vice president, our relatives are not going to be milking the cow. We shall not treat investors in the sector with hostility, as is presently the case, but will rather welcome them as partners and relate with them based on mutual respect, cooperation, and strict adherence to ethical standards. As I stated at a recent forum on FDI, we shall demonstrate to our management of the energy sector that Ghana is once again open for business. We shall inject innovation, technology, and modern best practices into the running of the sector. We have a clear plan which we will implement with active stakeholder involvement. We will consult you, the stakeholders, at every step of the way. The path forward is clear. With strong leadership, sound policies, and your support, we can build the Ghana we all want. A Ghana that thrives. A Ghana where energy powers not just our industries, but also powers our dreams. Our energy sector was once a beacon of progress, and it can be so again. The challenges we face are significant, but they are not insurmountable. Together we can reset Ghana. Together we can rebuild Ghana's energy sector and put it back in its rightful place as the engine of our economic growth and national development. We can create a 24-hour economy, we can modernize our agriculture, and restore Ghana's West Africa energy hub vision that we had. We will ensure transparency and accountability in our energy institutions and ensure that every Ghanaian has access to affordable and reliable power. Corruption and opacity and underhand dealings in the sector will be a thing of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, stakeholders in the energy sector, under my watch, under the Mahama Nana Jane administration, the sector will cease to be a milking cow for a few relatives and cronies. Of the president and the vice president, our relatives are not going to be milking the cow. We shall not treat investors in the sector with hostility, as is presently the case, but will rather welcome them as partners and relate with them based on mutual respect, cooperation, and strict adherence to ethical standards. As I stated at a recent forum on FDI, we shall demonstrate to our management of the energy sector that Ghana is once again open for business. We shall inject innovation, technology, and modern best practices into the running of the sector. We have a clear plan which we will implement with active stakeholder involvement. We will consult you, the stakeholders, at every step of the way. The path forward is clear. With strong leadership, sound policies, and your support, we can build the Ghana we all want. A Ghana that thrives. A Ghana where energy powers not just our industries, but also powers our dreams. Our energy sector was once a beacon of progress, and it can be so again. The challenges we face are significant, but they are not insurmountable. Together we can reset Ghana. Together we can rebuild Ghana's energy sector and put it back in its rightful place as the engine of our economic growth and national development. We can create a 24-hour economy, we can modernize our agriculture, and restore Ghana's West Africa energy hub vision that we had. We will ensure transparency and accountability in our energy institutions and ensure that every Ghanaian has access to affordable and reliable power. Corruption and opacity and underhand dealings in the sector will be a thing of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, stakeholders in the energy sector, under my watch, under the Mahama Nana Jane administration, the sector will cease to be a milking cow for a few relatives and cronies. Of the president and the vice president, our relatives are not going to be milking the cow. We shall not treat investors in the sector with hostility, as is presently the case, but will rather welcome them as partners and relate with them based on mutual respect, cooperation, and strict adherence to ethical standards. As I stated at a recent forum on FDI, we shall demonstrate to our management of the energy sector that Ghana is once again open for business. We shall inject innovation, technology, and modern best practices into the running of the sector. We have a clear plan which we will implement with active stakeholder involvement. We will consult you, the stakeholders, at every step of the way. The path forward is clear. With strong leadership, sound policies, and your support, we can build the Ghana we all want. A Ghana that thrives. A Ghana where energy powers not just our industries, but also powers our dreams. Everywhere I go, every traditional ruler who has spoken has complained about the poor road network. And I'm saying that the MPP say in 8 years of Kufuor, he did 3,000 and something kilometers of roads. In NDC, they say we did 4,700 kilometers of roads. And they alone have done 12,000 kilometers of roads. And the question I'm asking is, where are those roads? Because everywhere I go, the main complaint is about the road network. So I don't know. Well, I've not been to Ebuakwa yet, and Chebi, where the president comes from. But I hear that there the roads are very good. So maybe that is where the 12,000 kilometers of roads are. But everywhere else in Ghana, the roads are terrible. And so when we come, the new roads they said they've done, we'll audit them to find out where the money that has been paid for 12,000 kilometers of roads, where has it gone? Because we can't find those roads. Sir, say, oh, President Mama made the minim say your party no omunya de ye ba mu ye nya de economy na say. And so me dem ye MPP ni intimi nto mawo. Intimi dem nto kra. Na me nya me kan say ye nyina ye ne omu ya adwen say omu party na nya de na enya omu mfom so a. If we say problem e wo ne say ebusua ketwe bi agye omu party na aboso. Enti enye MPP ankasa ena wa ban mu o ye kase e omo kase MPP administration enye MPP administration na yenim if we say MPP aba ban mu da na president Kofo eda no enye sa abanfun we ena president Kofo etena so ezu president Kofo te aban no so na aban nya fun te se ni aye hui sebi enti ni America sha me nan fofo e wo MPP ni say ye mom ye pese e boa omo enti ma omo nka se omo nto aba ma NDC na enti bi yi omo party no enko opposition na omo nko pam ebusu a omo age party na boss no na omo nje omo party back na omo siesie ne kama na omo sambra 2028 asa say oh President Mama made the minim say your party no omunya de ye ba mu ye nya de economy na say and so me dem ye MPP ni intimi nto mawo intimi dem nto kra na me ni America ne say ye nyina ye ne omu ya adwen say omu party na nya de na enya omu mfom so a if we say problem e wo ne say ebusua ketwe bi agye omu party na aboso enti enye MPP ankasa ena wa ban mu o ye kase omo kase MPP administration enye MPP administration na yenim if we say MPP aba ban mu da na president Kofo eda no enye sa abanfun we ena president Kofo etena so ezu president Kofo te aban no so na aban nya fun te se ni aye hui sebi enti ni America sha me nan fofo e wo MPP ni say ye mom ye pese e boa omo enti ma omo nka se omo nto aba ma NDC na enti bi yi omo party no enko opposition na omo nko pam ebusu a omo age party na boss no na omo nje omo party back
review segment of the show. Many thanks for joining. That as usual, we are live from Asulizi number 48 Monica Street in Aberdeen. We also across 46 other African countries via satellite. Where are you watching from? Let me know. Send me your comments. The text line is very active. Let me know where you're watching from. Leave us a message. I'll be more than glad to hear from you as the show progresses. This morning I've been joined by Madame Rodalyn Ayana of the Movement for Change. It's been a while. She went a wall, but we are always happy to have her here in the studios of Pan-African Television to share her wisdom with us. Auntie Ruda, good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a while.
Yes, I
trust you're fine.
Yes, I took a short holiday.
What did you bring for us?
Where, turkey? We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about, right, sure. It's been a long time, long time since we last saw Honorable Abdulaziz, the former Member of Parliament for the Myong constituency, on our platform. Yesterday, I had to call him and then haul him here. It's been a while. I've been seeing him on other platforms, but it's not as if he's been avoiding us, no. But let me just cut long story short. He's here this morning and I'm excited. Honorable, good morning.
Good morning, Blessing. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good to be back.
Our viewers miss you.
I've missed them too, but I haven't been too active in the media for some time now, and I've been doing Tamale, Accra, for a very long time. So it's not just Pan-Africa. I've been very dormant with media engagement, but I think that it's time to get back. It's time to do the last push for the return of President Mohamed and the NDC into government. And so it's good to be back, and it's good to see you again.
Great, right. Let me run our viewers through what we have tabled for today's conversation. African story, as typical of Pan-African television. We are the only station in Ghana who actually dedicates the first topic to another African country other than Ghana. And so this morning we shall be looking at Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. They are to launch a new biometric passport under their new alliance. This story is in page 5 of the Daily Graphic. If you pick today's edition of the Daily Guide to page 5, you'd find it there. Junta-led West African states to launch new biometric passport. Also, demo against EC. Care Ghana, Arise Ghana, others back NDC move. This morning it's happening. NAPO proposes National Anti-Galamsey Pact, invites NDC, other political parties to sign. Let's rally behind Alliance government to transform Ghana. KOD appeals to Ghanaians. And so these are the stories that we have tabled for today's conversation. Well, so without further ado, we'll get into the conversation. So what do Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have in common? Well, we do know for a fact that all these three countries have been ravaged by coup d'etats. But it appears that these people want to pull themselves away from the apron strings of the colonialists. So they've taken steps in that regard. I know some of them, or actually all of them, have decided that they are going to be doing away with French as their official language. But this is another step that they are taking. They are launching a new passport. Let me read an excerpt of the story as captured in today's edition of the Daily Guide newspaper. 3 West African countries run by military juntas will be launching new biometric passports in the coming days as part of their withdrawal from the wider regional bloc ECOWAS. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, whose military leaders took over power in series of coups between 2020 and 2023, announced their plan to leave the bloc in January. Following the coups, West African countries sanctioned the juntas, aiming to push them to quickly restore civilian rule. But the 3 nations that now form the Alliance of Sahel states have so far resisted the calls, opting to cement their alliance. In the coming days, a new biometric passport of the alliance will be put into circulation with the aim of harmonizing travel documents in a common area. Malian junta leader Colonel Assimi Goïta said in a televised address on late Sunday. Colonel Goïta, who is the acting president of the Sahel Alliance, spoke a day before the military governments were due to mark the first anniversary since they made a decision to create their own alliance. He said they were also planning to launch a joint service that would promote a harmonious dissemination of information in our 3 states. Burkina Faso had earlier revealed its decision to launch a new biometric passport without the ECOWAS logo. It remains unclear how the new passports will affect the travel of their nationals to other ECOWAS states where they enjoyed visa-free movement as holders of a 15 national regional passport. In July, the junta's chiefs said they were irrevocably turning their backs on ECOWAS. They said they wanted to build a community of sovereign people based on African values and far from the control of foreign powers. The latest announcement comes as ECOWAS is engaged in efforts to get the 3 Sahel nations to return to the bloc. The latest announcement, ECOWAS recently warned that formalization of the breakaway group posed the risk of regional disintegration and worsened insecurity. So this is nearly the entire story as captured in today's edition of the Daily Guide newspaper. Interesting development. When this thing started, probably ECOWAS thought that they were joking, but from the look of things, these people are very serious about this decision, and this decision appears to be cast in stone. The very fact that they have stated emphatically that they aren't going to return to the regional bloc, ECOWAS that is, and they are making all efforts to entirely break away from any foreign influence. In as much as we criticize them and we say we detest coups, a lot of people are bearing testimony to the fact that it appears that these junta leaders are doing the right things in the country. Is that the case?
Good morning to our viewers. You pardon my voice a bit. I have a bit of a cough. You know, like you said, we were taking these issues with Burkina Faso, Mali, and the rest on a very light note, as though it didn't really matter. But it's getting serious somehow. But I think that they seem to be doing quite well. But that is always what happens with military rules. As soon as they come, they do well. When get into the latter stages, they become almost dictatorial. And then there's always the issue with democratic values and all that, and everybody wants to go back to democracy. I don't know if this year biometric passports is a good thing. First and foremost, they will have to get recognition. Those passports have to be recognized by various countries. We don't know how they stand now, because if you look at the sub-region, they may be able to use those things around us, the old ECOWAS enclave. But I don't know how they're going to be able to meander their way into the Western world, because already the Western world sees them as not legit. They're not legitimate governments. So they might not want to even recognize those passports. I'm looking at a situation where Burkina Faso, Mali, and where? Niger. They decide, these are 3 landlocked countries, decide to trade amongst themselves, have their own currency, because these are things they had already talked about, that they would want to have their own currency. They wanted to roll out their own currency. And there was the issue of Guinea wanting to be part of that group also. But let's look at the bloc, the African bloc. As we sit, we have the Arab bloc. So you are looking at this one Africa that we've always wanted to be unified as one. We now have an Arab bloc. That's those in the Libya, Tunisia, Morocco, Mauritania, all those people. They look at themselves as Arabs. Egypt, you know, that area. It is only when something benefits them that they accept that they are Africans. Now, I'm asking, where does Chad, you know, stand in this? Because Chad is just around Niger. So how come Chad is not part of this? So somehow it then comes to the Francophone, Anglophone situation too, when we look at ECOWAS, them leaving ECOWAS. So they are the 3 blocks that was, I think they were mostly French speaking, they're mostly French. And then we still have Senegal, La Côte d'Ivoire, Togo, who are also French, amongst the leftover ECOWAS group. So I think that this whole thing is going to be interesting because I'm asking myself how these three countries think that they're going to survive amongst these cluster of different groupings, more so when they are landlocked countries. I would say that they might have some difficulties because of their democratic credentials not being what most developing nations would want to accept. They are military junctors, so they are not in most people's minds legit to speak for the people, but somehow they are there. I don't know what's going to happen when they decide to hand over to democratic leaders, whether those leaders will also want to toe the line they are towing right now, take themselves out of ECOWAS completely. Are you getting me? I think that being, they were peeved. Burkina Faso, for instance, when our president snitched on them with this Wagner group, I think it got to them. And then also, when ECOWAS decided that they were going to side with France to go into those countries, to kind of like remove those leaders, that also was a minus. Because for me, I felt that as Africans, we needed to stand by our own. But we sold them out to the West. And for me, that was wrong. And that is how come they are peeved. So does it mean that maybe in the nearest future, when democracy is established, those democratic leaders would want to look at it once again and come back to ECOWAS? We are looking at landlocked countries wanting to be on their own. How is that going to be so possible? You understand? Although they still have connections of trade with Ghana, for instance. They use our ports. We are into some form of agreements for the electricity that they use. We also have some form of trade with them, getting our foodstuffs from them, the tomatoes, the onions, the cereals coming from those areas. I don't know how they think that being alone would help them. I would have wished that the only thing that they would have made sense with is abandoning a language, just like Rwanda abandoned their colonial language and decided to go with English because they felt it was good. So if they had said that we are no longer going to probably use French, but we are going to adapt another language. I'm not saying English, but they could adapt any language. If they have their own language, like the Southern African countries have Swahili, if they also wanted to adapt a language, be it Mole, be it Hausa or whatnot, we could work along those lines. But to say that you're going to have your own biometric passports, which you would need recognition from all countries who would accept those passports. A passport for them is just a form of identification that we are nationals of these countries, we are cooperating with these other countries, but how about the rest of us? Is Ghana going to be open to say that, yes, Ghana, which is a member of the ECOWAS, that they have left, would we openly accept Burkinabe biometric passports? You understand? And what does it entail? How, security-wise, you know, how are we sure that these passports are not just going to be another paper that are going to be issued by anybody, you know, security-wise? Because all our passports have got security features. All our passports, in going into any other country, they believe that you are who you say you are, and that's how come. And for all this kind of Al-Qaeda activities and whatnot happening around them, the terrorists having a hold on certain parts of these various countries, how is that going to relate? You understand? Will terrorists be able to access their passports so easily or not? Are you getting me? As a larger body ECOWAS, there was more to be able to police these issuance of travel documents, and then also to be able to police security on our borders and the likes. But with this issuance between three countries that are military juntas, I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know how far it's going to go, and how next they will handle the situations of security.
But aside the security, is there not a general consensus that these leaders are doing the right things? I mean, you mentioned something that is what it looks like, especially in the beginning when they assume office. Then, in the long run, people get to realize that they are becoming dictatorial. But do you also not believe that if you look at our governance system as Africans, trying to Europeanize and say that maybe Europeanize is not the right word, but to say that we are following democracy as it should be, it doesn't augur well for us. I'm saying this because if you look at a country like Rwanda, everybody admits that Kagame is doing all the right things, but a lot of question marks have also been raised.
People still think of him as a dictator.
A dictator. A lot of question marks have been raised. When you look at the last election, he got over 99% of the votes. I don't know how possible that is.
He's not the only one. Even when you get to other Southern African countries, if you're talking of the Ugandans and whatnot, you get those kinds of things.
People.
Yeah.
But we do admit that he's doing the right things. You got Rwanda as it was some 30 years ago in 94 when they were struck by that genocide is far different from what it is currently. Perhaps the fastest developing African country that there is. So isn't it also the case that we should give these military leaders the benefits of the doubt instead of just rebuffing them like, okay, we know what your true intentions are. In the long run, you are going to be dictatorial, and then the people aren't going to see real development. What do we want? Do we want development as we say we do, or we are concerned about whether the person is a dictator or not?
I think that what we want is for a group that would come and streamline the structures of democracy. Make it in such a way that we can tackle those issues that made them to come. Fighting the terrorist group, thinking that the West was taking everything from them, and all that. You see, anybody can come in as a ruler and do the things that they are doing. The only difference between a democratic government doing that is that the citizens are able to voice out, against that leader. But when it comes to military rule, you and I know that you're almost like, your mouth is almost zipped up. So they are able to do things. In this country, some of us sit down and say that, God, we wish there was a military government in power to tackle the Galamsey issue.
Yeah.
Are you getting me? So if you are coming, you must be coming to tackle Galamsey. You must be seen to tackle corruption. You must be seen to tackle our bad roads. You understand? So that those are the things. And then streamlining the policies that all those governments that you feel didn't do well have not done. But once they come, it's always that populist. You see, we have this populism when it comes to these junta leaders. They always want to do the things that they feel that the ordinary people have not felt. Okay? They have not felt. The rich people or the elites are the ones who have been enjoying, and the rest of you have not been enjoying. So we see the Burkinabe Touare, I admire him a lot, come and sit down and say, people are sleeping hungry, you people are sitting. He's addressing the elite, and he's telling them, you may have food to eat, you may have clothes on your back and nice places to sleep, but you must come out in the night and see those who are sleeping on the streets. Those are populist things. What are you doing to make sure that those sleeping in the streets will no longer have to sleep in the streets? So I am saying, all these things that they are doing, would it be a good idea for them to go back maybe to a democratic government, to find a leader that has the same ideas and the same views to come and also do? You understand? They are just like ordinary citizens of those countries. Do you mean to say that there are no civilians with that kind of mindset? as I sit here, given the opportunity, I think that I will get to Galamsey and kick them out within a few months. That would be my way of doing it. You understand? And if I had a gun, everybody would shut up. You get me? Because probably the way that I'm going to have to do it is such that because it's a democracy, blah, 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 it won't. But if I am like Kagame, who is also out from the military, I will be able to do that. So if we all as Africans begin to think that military junctors are those that can solve our problems, we'll always be going back. We should be able to create and you know, mold ourselves to be able to do the things that the military people are doing. Have the heart to do those things. Then we know that democracy is working.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
Because in the Western world, these things are happening by democratic governments. So they didn't know. We don't need somebody to tell me that, oh, things are not working maybe in the UK, or they're not working in America, or they're not working in Germany or Sweden or whatnot. But they are not being ruled by the military. But we are here yearning to go there. Why? Because they have put up the structures, and the structures are working. So get the structures back on the road. Instead of wanting to think that you will take your people out, then what next? After 5 years, when you go, what next?
Right. Right. Thank you very much, Madam Ayana is a leading member of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. Let me come to Honorable Abdulaziz. He would also share his thoughts with us on this particular issue. Honorable.
Good morning to you once again, and good morning to our cherished viewers. Bless, whilst one would commend these three Sahelian countries for a good move to facilitate free movement of individuals and goods, one cannot shy away from the regret that they had to go on the path of a military governance. You know, I have always maintained that the West democratic regime is better than the best military regime that you can ever find anywhere in the world. And so whilst we commend them for initiating that move in the interests of their citizens, I must say that it is regrettable that these Sahelian countries had to take the path that they did. Now, like most military regimes, like she indicated, they are mostly populist in the way they govern. In fact, one of the reasons that led to the military takeover in these three countries had to do with insecurity, the issues of terrorism, jihadists and this extreme Islamist violence in those three countries. Regrettably, data from the Africa Center for Strategic Studies indicates that, for instance, in the case of Mali, deaths as a result of Islamist insurgents has more than tripled. And so the very reason for which they came into power are worsening. They are not solving the issues. Issues of misgovernance is on the increase. And so you ask yourself what purpose those three leaders, Assimi, Traore, and Mohamed Bazoum, are actually dealing with. And so I would urge the ECOWAS to continuously engage with these three heads of state to see how they can be able to bring them back to ECOWAS. Yes, it is true that even if you want to take the case of, you just mentioned the case of, what's his name?
Paul Kagame.
Paul Kagame. You know, the kind of reforms, the kind of governance, the kind of infrastructure. You know, if you are told that this country was bedeviled with some crisis, you know, they were embroiled in some war for a very long time, their infrastructure was virtually brought to ground zero. And if you look at the level of development, the level of infrastructure, the human development that is ongoing, you would salute Paul Kagame. But people have gone after him for not being a democratic, and so you have a choice to make. Either you want extreme democratic regime where issues of free speech, rule of law, judiciary independence, and what have you, whether you want to see those things characterize your country, or you want to see huge development in your country. I mean, we have a choice. We have a choice to make. But like she said, in other parts of the world, in America and in Europe, I mean, they are highly democratic, and yet they are still able to offer development to their people. But it appears in the context of Africa, especially within the West African countries, sometimes we tend to believe that the democratic governments are not able to move our development to a level that we want to see. And so that's why you see in the case of Ghana, for instance, confidence in democratic governance is dwindling. But like I said earlier, I would prefer the worst democratic regime to the best military regime. One thing that you can also see is that the three military rulers in these three countries, they want to perpetuate themselves in power. Even if they are transitioning, they would want to continue, they would contest the elections and see if they can transition themselves into democratic leaders, just like we had in the case of Ghana, you know, in our recent history, you know. And so let's see how it goes. I know some of them have started drafting their preliminary constitutions. Let's see how it will go. Let's see how they can transition to democratic governance. Some of them have taken very bold steps to review the prices of their major exports, especially to France, and that is good, you know. It brings them more revenue, you know, to the extent that those revenues will be used to develop their countries. You can admire some of the far-reaching decisions that they have taken. Like I indicated, the issue of price of their major exports, especially to France.
Yeah.
Where, you know,
I think that's the uranium.
Yes, they still partly their economy is still run by France, and so for them to try to extricate themselves completely from France is a good move. Those are lessons that they should, even when they transition into a democratic regime, those are the practices that they should carry forward. And let's see how the ECOWAS and Africa as a whole would progress. That is very, very important. It only speaks to the fact that ECOWAS and AU is failing. They are not living up to their mandate. For instance, what's happening in Ghana today, you would expect ECOWAS and the AU to be able to make very strong pronouncements on some of the happenings. They don't wait until things get out of hand. Then they begin to try to quench the fire. That is not proper, that's not fair. So ECOWAS and AU must be up and doing. We don't want to see they lost a decade of between the 1970s to 80s are gone. The world is largely democratic today, and so for us to be reversing back to military regimes is not the best practice or development in the case of Africa. But like I said, the most important thing is our development, human development, infrastructure. That is the most important thing. Of course, we want to have development within the context of freedom and stability. That is important.
This will be my final question, by the way.
Okay.
Oftentimes, I've heard this, I mean, you have said this, but this isn't the first time I'm hearing it. I've heard it a lot of times, that we prefer even the worst form of democracy to the best form of, you know, military dictatorship.
Yes.
But you look at a country like Togo. Look at Togo, for instance. The HEADMAN have ruled for how long? Nearly, I think for about 56 years.
Yes.
They have been in power. The current president, was born the very year his father assumed office.
The presidency.
Yes. So he's been in the presidency literally all his life.
Yeah.
Now look at the decisions, the issues in Togo, and the very fact that now they've taken the right to elect the president directly. That direct, right from the Togolese people. Now it is Parliament who has the right to actually elect who the next president will be.
Like a prime minister.
Exactly. So now they've taken that right away from them, and we know who controls the majority of Parliament. When you go to Togo, about 95% of parliamentarians in the Togolese government currently are of force political party. So what kind of a democracy is that? Especially when you have a regional bloc that seems unperturbed about all these issues. And so if a coup happens in Togo right now, is it not legitimate that it happens?
I share in your concerns and sentiments, but you see, the right to choose who governs you is natural and inalienable. And so the mere fact that you are exercising that natural right comes with some satisfaction that you cannot quantify. The fact that you have the space to speak your mind, you cannot quantify that. The fact that you are more than confident that you have a working judiciary, and that if you had a dispute with either the state or your fellow citizen, you have a judiciary that can guarantee you a justice. You can't quantify that. And so, yes, even when you look at the economic data in Togo, for instance, when you look at the rate of inflation, the depreciation of their currency, the youth unemployment, and almost everything, the cost of borrowing, if you were to compare them to the indices in Ghana, you would prefer what's happening in Togo. They are having an inflation of less than 5%. Ghana, you have a democratic regime where your inflation is around somewhere in 2022.
People would argue
somewhere
again,
in 2022.
people would argue that
Yes.
their economies are literally run by the French government, and so that's
So that's how we have that difference.
yeah.
So, but you see, at the end of the day, if your country's rate of inflation is 1%, and you are ruled by, your economy is being controlled by France, at the end of the day, it's the cost of living that matters much to you. But you see, like I indicated, the mere fact that you know that you are running your country by yourself, you have the right to elect your government, right? You have the right to free speech, a working judiciary. Those are things that you cannot attach numbers to. They are natural rights that are bestowed on you by God. And so I would still insist that yes, with all the numbers indicating that some military, or if you like, paramilitary regimes seem to be doing much better in delivering development and having better economic indices, I would still prefer a democratic regime to a military regime. I understand where you are coming from. I mean, Togo, that's why today people prefer to go and clear their goods at their ports than coming to do at our ports in Ghana here. And so at the end of the day, you have a right to choose. I say that I would choose the West democratic regime, where I have the right to come to your studios every morning if I wish, to speak up my mind. I can go home and sleep well, to a regime where your rights are curtailed and your human rights are curtailed. I would prefer a democratic regime, however bad it is. You know, the military regime is something I would not for any day would want to wish, not just for Ghana, but for any other country in Africa.
Right, thank you very much. We'll draw curtains
So
on.
if you're talking of a West democratic regime like we're having now, we prefer to sit in it, you know, and use our thumb to make that change.
To make that change.
Than to have any military rule.
Right. We'll draw curtains on the African bits. We'll come back to Ghana. We have a lot of issues of our own. But let me again remind you that we are live from Australia, number 48 Monica Street in Abelinkpe. Also in 46 South African countries, we are being watched across the world. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll move on to that conversation about the Electoral Commission and then the National Democratic Congress. But let me read some of the messages that you have sent via WhatsApp. Yusuf Mohammed says, we talk of democracy. The idea is that one has the liberty to air their views. Frank Kweku Atiu says, good morning, Pan-Africa TV. My name is Atiu Frank from Sehri. Also, kudos to you all. Sometimes we need also to understand the ideology of the people in those military countries. Why am I saying that? The people of those countries like the military rule. I was at Burkina Faso when the president Thomas Sankara was killed, and the people of Burkina Faso still believe in Thomas Sankara. So Ibrahim Traoré is the new Thomas Sankara they are looking for. I think military rule is not good, but let's look at the ideology of the people in that country. Thank you so much. Mensa from Bechem says, my regards to the Honorable Charles Akwesi Asiedu, incoming MP for Tano South. The fight for credible register is not only the NDC, is not only the fight of the NDC, but anyone who wants peace on December 7th. How can over 3,000 voters be transferred to Ejuma Kweenya and Isiam without the voters' knowledge? Let's come together to fight for a credible register for a transparent election. All Ghanaians should show up in the demonstration against the EC to provide us with a credible register. Okay, there are so many messages in relation to the to this morning's protest. It means that a lot of you are waiting for this topic for conversation. Now let's get straight into it. So today, the National Democratic Congress is protesting at the district offices of the Electoral Commission. They have noted some discrepancies in the voters' register. People have been transferred to even other regions, if I should say. They have been transferred to other regions without their notice. So if you go to vote, you go to your electoral area to vote on December 7, you go there only to be told that your name is not there and you can't vote there. And so, for instance, you are in Sagnarigu and you've been transferred to Pusika. It means that you'd have to leave Sagnarigu to Pusika that day. Is that even possible to get there and then go and vote, Charlie? So these are some of the issues that the NDC have raised. But it appears we have an Electoral Commission that is also hell-bent on not granting the wishes of the NDC. And so today they are taken to the streets. What happens after today, I do not know. But I have Honorable Abdulaziz here. He is a formidable member of the National Democratic Congress. He will tell us some of the concerns of the NDC and also exactly why today's protest is very important. Honorable.
Yes. Bless, from your studios here, I'll be going to the Kwame Nkrumah Circle where people have started a gathering for the mammoth demonstration that the NDC would be having nationwide this morning. In fact, it's not a demonstration just for the NDC. It is a demonstration by the people of this country, people who love our democracy, who want to sustain our democracy. And so civil society organizations, other political parties, labor organizations, everybody is invited to join us demonstrate this morning in Accra and also in the 16 regional capitals. What are the issues? I have listened to a senior official of the Electoral Commission, one Mr. Bano Bio. I think he's in charge of electoral services or director. I'm not too sure of his title. Indicate that the credibility of an election, the register constitutes about more than 60%. It contributes to about 60% or so to a credible elections. And so having a credible register is a necessary condition for a credible elections. In the past 7 to 8 years, Ghanaians have witnessed extreme cronyism. Ghanaians have witnessed unprecedented levels of corruption and thievery. Ghanaians have witnessed an alarming rate in the increase in the activities of Galamsey. our water bodies are compromised, our forest reserves are dwindling. Ghanaians have witnessed the high levels of youth unemployment. And so Ghanaians have endured this regime for the past 7 to 8 years. And Ghanaians are hopeful that 7th December would be an opportunity for us to bring an end to this level of misery and to usher in a government that would give us hope, that will reverse all these negative trends. And so if we have endured them for this long, we will not allow them to close the door or close the window of change that we are all looking up to. Ghanaians have not taken to the streets against this regime simply because we know that our constitution guarantees us an opportunity to change this bad government. And so any attempt to close that opportunity or that window would be resisted and would be resisted fiercely. What are the issues that we are talking about here? We are going into a very crucial election on 7th December. Just some 80 days or more to the election. The Electoral Commission has given the NDC and all the other political parties a provisional voters register. And mind you, that provisional voters register was supposed to be given to the NDC and the other political parties well ahead of the voter exhibition exercise. The EC deliberately delayed in providing the parties with the provisional register. In fact, we got our provisional register just a day before the exhibition. I don't know when the MPP got theirs, but at least the NDC got ours just a day to the election. I suspect that the plan of the EC was to deny the NDC the opportunity to scrutinize properly the provisional voters register. But thanks to Dr. Omane Buama, the Director of Elections and IT, and his team, they were able to do some quick job on the provisional voters register. And they discovered a lot of anomalies that that they brought to the attention of the Electoral Commission. When those anomalies were brought to the attention of the EC, the first response from the EC was that that wasn't true and that it wasn't possible. In fact, the NDC discovered that about 4,000 people who registered in 2023 had their names deleted entirely from the register. We also discovered that the transfer list that ought to have been around 300,000 suddenly bloated to over 543,000, about more than 243,000 names or details extra. And so, you see, when you do a transfer list, they compile either they were done in 2023 prior to the district elections or they were done in 2024. The total that we have had from the database of the EC was around 300,000. Suddenly, when they give us the provisional register, the number shot up to over 543,000. We also noticed that there was about 15 voters that were not captured in the absentee list. The absentee list, for instance, is when you transfer your vote from constituency A to constituency B. When you go to constituency B, your name would be in the transfer list, indicating that you have transferred your vote from one constituency to that constituency. But when you go to your original constituency, which is constituency A, your name will be captured under what we call the absentee list, meaning that yes, you registered earlier at that polling station, but you are absent because your vote has been transferred. The EC cannot account for about 15% of that. And so, in fact, the work is still ongoing. This is what the NDC has so far discovered. So when we communicated this to the EC, like I said earlier, what they did was to dismiss entirely the findings or the claims of the NDC. Of course, they later invited the NDC into a meeting. The election directorate of our party, when they were to attend that meeting, requested that that meeting should be done on camera. We wanted to invite the media into the meeting. The EC rejected our request to have the media present during the deliberations. the party provided the EC with overwhelming evidence to all the claims that we made. We gave them evidence of deletions and transfer lists and the absentee lists and what almost all the allegations that we leveled against the EC were able to provide evidence to that effect. The EC now admitted that yes, what we have said is true. And so in the case of Tamale South, for instance, 38 people were transferred from Tamale South, which is in the northern region, all the way to Pusiga in the Upper West region. What it means is that on the election day, Upper East, what it means is that these 38 voters in Tamale South on the day of election, when they go to their polling station, will be told that their votes have been transferred to Pusiga. How would they suddenly be able to transport themselves from one region to another to go and exercise their franchise? And so these were some of the issues that we brought to the EC's attention. Then they said, okay, we admit to all the discoveries that the NDC has made. Even in the case of Pusiga, they accuse their district elections director of the person being behind those illegal transfers. Because you cannot transfer somebody without the person presenting himself and requesting to be transferred. How an EC director in Pusiga was able to transfer votes without those people applying for it, one, and those people not being present at the time of the transfer. Then they say, oh, they have gone ahead to even suspend their Pusiga director, their Pusiga district director for EC, confirming that yes, it happened. Now, then he says that, okay, fine, we are not too sure of the extent or how widespread the problem is. This is what we have been able to discover within some few days. In order for us to authenticate the register, in order for us to confirm, in order to have confidence in the register, let us do a forensic audit of the register. And when we do the forensic audit of the register, we are interested in two things. One, would interrogate the numbers of the register. Either you are looking at the total voters register, you are looking at transfer list, absentee list, all the issues, all the numbers will be interrogated. The second issue that we would have the opportunity to look at would be the IT system of the Electoral Commission. Because if your district director can sit in Pusiga and do that, and transfer voters from Tamale South to Pusiga, the question is, did he have authority to do that? If indeed he had, what time did he do that? Was it within the working hours of the EC or it was done midnight? And so we think that their IT system is very vulnerable, very susceptible to manipulations and unauthorized manipulations. Of course, manipulations of all sorts are unauthorized. Now, the EC says no, they would not allow a forensic audit of their register. They claim that all the problems that the NDC have identified, they have resolved them. They have resolved all those issues. And so they requested of the NDC to bring a drive so that they will give us the updated register in which they claim they have resolved all those issues. We gave you the pen drive almost 2 weeks now. You haven't gotten back to us with your so-called updated version of the register. You are telling us to give you all the problems we've identified. Is it the duty of the NDC? Is it our duty to do your work for you? We have given you the pen drive. You have requested for a drive from us to give us, because we have admitted to all the problems that we have enumerated. And there could be more. Only a forensic audit can discover the extent of the anomalies and also examine your IT system to ensure that it is robust enough to generate that confidence that we all need going into the elections. It's been 2 weeks. You haven't given us the updated version. Now, how can we trust? How can we believe that indeed you have resolved all the issues that we have brought to attention? If we don't demand for a forensic audit now, and we wait until a day or two to the elections, and you give us a register, that is still problematic. The window to deal with the issue would have been long gone. And we cannot take that risk. We want to ensure a free and fair elections. We are very much convinced that if we were to have a credible elections, the NDC would emerge victorious. We are not interested in rigging the election, but we have every reason to believe that the EC is doing all these things deliberately just to rig the elections for the MPP. And let me tell you why some of us believe that these are not errors. These are not clerical errors. These are not unintentional actions on the part of the EC. When you hear, for instance, President Akufo-Addo says that he will not hand over to the person he defeated. He has repeatedly mentioned that he will not hand over to President Mahama. Now you hear the former national organizer of the NPP, Sami Awuku, who goes onto a campaign platform and says that the MPP would win this year's elections with a strategy that nobody would understand. Then you have the Minister for Agric, who says that they will win the elections by hook or crook. And so we have every reason to believe that there's a calculated attempt by the EC and the MPP to rig these elections. Why? Why is the NDC so vocal, insisting on a credible register, and our main opponents, the MPP, are so quiet about it? Is it because they are the ultimate beneficiaries of the manipulations of the register? That is the question. They have remained so silent on it, so quiet on it. Is it because they are going to be the ultimate beneficiaries of it? You remember that even before we got to this place, the EC had indicated that they want to do away with the indelible ink. Around that time, they were conducting the parliamentary and presidential primaries for the MPP, where they were using the indelible ink as a second step verification to avoid double voting, and yet we're proposing to do away with the indelible ink in the main elections. We had to push, we had to insist before they backtracked on that, because that was even unlawful, because they had not come to amend the CI that governs our elections and makes provisions for the indelible ink. And so there's every indication that this EC is working in concert with the MPP to rig these elections for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the MPP. Why? Why do you want to trust this EC? This is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who in the last election changed the election results about 4 or 5 times. Single elections. Because the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, in the person of Jane Mensah, she is the returning officer for presidential elections. Only her, as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, can't declare and announce the results for the presidential elections. In the last election, she changed the results more than 4 times. In fact, the last results that she gave out was through a press release that was not even signed. And the only option that we had was to go to court. And we are all witnesses to what happened in the court, how she was even shielded from giving evidence. And so we have given every indication that going to court is not an option for the NDC and President Mahama. Whatever steps that we need to take now to guarantee a credible, transparent elections, we will do. Today's demonstration is just one of the series of activities that the NDC intends to do that would bring pressure to bear on the EC to do what is right and what is needful. We would. This is just, what we're having today is just first in the series of actions that but of course, the subsequent actions don't lie in my mouth. the party's leadership would communicate that. If, for instance, we do the demonstration today and they see wisdom, look, I am happy that some civil society organizations have started speaking. But I'm so much disappointed in the Peace Council. And I'm beginning to question the relevance of the Peace Council in our national governance. Just a few weeks ago, the Peace Council were at the NDC's party's head office to engage with our national executives. And they were requesting us to sign a peace pact. Of course, our party led by our venerable chairman said we were not signing the peace pact and gave some 6 conditions upon which we were going to be amenable to signing that peace pact. But why is the Peace Council so interested in the peace pact and yet so much unconcerned about the very ingredients that will lead us to having a peaceful elections? So in all this hullabaloo, the National Peace Council has not heard the cry of the NDC. They haven't heard us cry for a credible register. The National House of Chiefs, they haven't heard the NDC talk about a credible register and insisting on a forensic audit. Civil society organizations, of course, I'm happy that some civil society organizations have started since yesterday. Some of them have started to speak. IDEC and CFI have started speaking. Some people within the academia, Professor Ransford Jampo and co have. I have also read something by lawyer Abuchi, if I'm right, lawyer Abuchi. I'm happy that all these great individuals have started speaking and calling on the EC to yield to the demands of the NDC, not just in the interest of the NDC, but in the interest of stability, in the interest of peaceful elections. Why? And the EC is behaving as if this is the first time a political party is calling for a forensic audit of the voters register. This is not the first time. In 2015-2016, the MPP led by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is their flag bearer today, leveled a series of allegations against the Charlotte Osei-led EC. Baseless allegations, because he did not provide an iota of evidence to support his claims then. We have provided evidence that they have admitted. You remember Dr. Bawumia in 2015-2016 claimed that he had gone through about 10% of the register then and had discovered that 76,000 Togolese were in our register then. He did not provide any evidence of any sort to that effect. In fact, in 2015-2016, the MPP called for a new register. Through engagements with the MPP, then they resolved to do a forensic audit. And a 5-member committee that was chaired by the late Supreme Court Judge V.C. Arikam. It was a 5-member committee with all political parties adequately represented by their IT experts. They went through the system. They interrogated the numbers and came out with some conclusions that were acceptable to all the stakeholders. It happened just at the last election. So what has changed? In fact, there are video clips where Jane Mensah, who was then working at IEA, where she supported the call for a forensic audit. Madam Jane Mensah. There are video clips where Nanado himself, Sami Oku, there are video clips of how they insisted on a forensic audit that was granted them. They emerged victorious. What has suddenly changed? What has suddenly changed? I'm beginning to think that they want to foster Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia on us. But in the event that that becomes impossible, they would want to have some, what the EC now terms as inconclusive elections. Some electoral dispute, some inconclusive elections, so that somebody can hang around for some time. let them get it very clear in their heads that whatever it will take to smoke out Mr. Akufo-Addo from the presidency immediately after midnight of 6th of January 2025, we will do that. They shouldn't take the patience of Ghanaians for granted. They shouldn't at all. They shouldn't take the patience of Ghanaians for granted. And so we in the NDC, we are committed to free, fair, credible, peaceful elections. But we will not be victims of peace. We will not allow them to perpetuate themselves in power. Why? Not even a single poll is favoring the NPP, local or international polls. So they can see defeat staring them in their faces. And so they are doing everything humanly possible to rig the elections and to make sure that the will of the Ghanaian people does not prevail. That we will not allow them to do. And so I've just gotten the indication, a text message that the crowd is so huge at Kwame Nkrumah circle. I'm sure that is the case in all the 15 other regional capitals. That the demonstration would be coming on. It promises to be a very mammoth one, very historic, and very peaceful and a smooth demonstration.
Right. Thank you so much, Honorable Abdulaziz. Let me also take the thoughts of Madam Rosaline Ayana. I think you've jotted many things.
All the things that he's saying, I was jotting it down.
Right. So let me also hear your take. Isn't the Alliance for Revolutionary Change interested in
we
this?
Are very interested, yes. Right. And we also feel that it is right for us to have a forensic audit of the register, because it affects us also. We would want to have a free, fair, transparent election. We are just looking at a situation where I'm listening to Aziz, because when you're within the political party system and being the largest opposition party, of course they are more informed than for us who are just interested in our presidential candidates. I am looking at a situation where the EC must be looking at herself and asking herself a few questions. What do I benefit from putting a whole country under tenterhooks? What do I benefit if anything should happen to this beautiful country of ours just because I want to please a certain group of people? I think that those questions must be questions that Jean Mensa should be asking herself. For an EC that could not even give us a result in 2020. What he's saying is what happened. And you ask yourself, are we even going to actually believe in what this woman is going to say? And she might say that I don't work alone. But that is neither here nor there. You see, what is happening is, I am saying that the MPP has no right to pressure this woman into doing anything. They might come out and say they are not pressuring her and God knows what. Your work must speak for itself. Your work, whatever you deliver to the people of Ghana, is what they will look at and vote for you. And therefore, I don't see any reason why there should be any imaginations and whatnot to get somebody into power. Bawumia is there. Honorable Bawumia, he's out there, His Excellency, campaigning. Everybody knows he's campaigning. John Mahama is campaigning. Honorable Chamating is also campaigning. So are everybody else. We are going to make sure that the Ghanaian populace vote for that person that they want to lead them, and at the same time get that person elected. No one is going to steal any vote or any position for anybody. Why? Why are they trying to make us, remember the days when our mothers used to beat us and tell us that, I'm beating you, but don't cry? Haven't you had that experience before? Meanwhile, they are beating you.
Yeah, they are beating you.
And it's getting to you.
They'll beat you to stop crying.
To stop crying. They're beating you and asking you to stop crying. And that is exactly what the EC wants us to do. You are hurting us and you don't want us to talk. How can you be there? Look, the gerrymandering within the EC is so huge. I keep telling people, I said, look, when you look at even the way squatters are removed, first and foremost, when you remove squatters from their location, where they went and registered, that is where they vote. So you look at your voting pattern, and then you decide that, around this squatter area, under this high tension, where these poor people are staying, most of them voted NDC, so to speak. Most voted NDC. Yeah. So get them off. Yeah. So you see squatter removals. It's happening. It's
that's
not that
gerrymandering. Yeah.
Yes, that's a way of gerrymandering, yeah. And we are looking at it, and we know and we see. It's just that the ordinary people just feel like, oh, they went and removed these people. No, it's gerrymandering. They are removing people so that they can get an upper hand, and they expect us to keep quiet. We are not talking, but that doesn't mean we are stupid. You understand? These same people are the very people who are going to transfer their votes. Because when you remove squatters from, say, Ajoringano, behind the high tensions, some of them have moved to Kwabenya, some have moved to Ashaiman, some have moved to other. By all means, they will have to go and transfer their votes. Some of them, we've had to tell them, as an alliance person, I go around and I tell them, I said, if it comes to the crunch, I will pay for you to come back here and vote, if need be. But for me, because I only have a presidential candidate, you can stay wherever you are and vote for my president. You understand? But if I do have an independent parliamentary candidate, I would have to give them some form of resource to be able to come and vote for that candidate. So it is not an easy thing for us also, even though we are not a political party and we are just fielding, or we are hoping to field our presidential candidates. So how sure are we that on the day of voting, that register that they claim has been cleaned is what we are going to find? What happens if we find another different register? I mean, we are in a country where we don't trust our EC. It is a very important thing. We don't trust the EC. So she must do things that will make us begin to trust her. And this is one of the ways. Let's go for a forensic audit. It's as simple as that. Why are you afraid? Why are you running away? If the MPP has performed, they shouldn't be afraid. Their works should be what should ask people or inform people to vote for them. So there's no reason why they should even jitter at all. They should be ready for what comes. We are not going to sit down and say that because she is the ultimate. There have been so many rumors. Oh, she was going to announce for a particular person and her aircraft will be waiting to go. Madam, you are not going anywhere. We are all going to be in this country, Ghana. So do the right thing so that we'll all have our peace. Nobody's leaving this country. People are saying, people are asking their family members to go away. Hey, in 1990.
Truly African.
Hello there.
Truly African.
Anything to stay on, some of us will take to the bush. You understand? That was them. Even then, if you try to subvert the will of the people, this was something they were even taking seriously with Jerry Rawlings. If you try to subvert the will of the people, some of us will take you on. The same people are there. It is the same country that we are living in. Don't try to subvert the will of the people. Don't think that because you have put people there, or there's that state capture of the security agencies, state capture of the judiciary, state capture of all the relevant stakeholders in this country, you will force your way to give us a president. It's not going to happen. Alan Kyerematen is going to be in that Flagstaff house. And no one is going to change that.
Right. Right. Thank you so much, Auntie Rhoda. Let me take time to read a few messages. Not a few, we have quite a number of them. This one here says, this woman has a good... this woman loves our motherland. I like the braveness in her. Thank you, Mama. You didn't tell me your name? Okay, HEADMAN. Thank you, HEADMAN, for your message. Uncle Fee from Takrade. Good morning to you, Bless, and to your panelists. How much will it cost us to undertake auditing to bring credibility? Zero, because I understand yes, it's zero. Also, yes,
UNDP is willing.
How much is it going to cost us?
It's zero.
Save us.
Also, will this be more expensive than the peace we are enjoying today? Please, one person cannot take this country to ransom.
No.
Uncle Fee from Takrade. Thank you, Uncle Fee. Ken Williams, one of our regular viewers. Good morning. How can we trust the vote rigging mafia to conduct credible elections? Whoever trusts EC does so at his own peril, because we have an electoral body being run by NPP foot soldiers who are players and referees at the same time. EC must go because they are not fit for purpose to run free and fair elections. NDC must invite ECOWAS and AU for help immediately. Pawili, thank you, Pawili, for your message. After the NPP's allegation of over 70,000 Togolese nationals being registered to vote in Ghana, there were calls for an investigation. According to reports, the Electoral Commission and other stakeholders took steps to address the concerns. EC's initial response, the EC dismissed the NPP's claim, stating that they had followed due process in registering voters. Parliamentary investigations. Ghana's parliament formed a committee to investigate the allegations, interagency investigations as well. The EC, National Security, and other agencies collaborated also. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for your message.
And let me just add that apart from the fact that the UNDP is willing to fund the cost that is associated with the forensic audit that the NDC is calling for, it will not just be the committee or the company that will be engaged. All political parties would have reps on that committee, just like we had in 2016. Political parties will be allowed to bring their IT experts to work with the committee that will be put in place to do the forensic audit. And are you aware that the IT consultant at the EC today, 1 year or something, he's a son of a consultant. He's a son to a consultant to President Akufo-Addo.
No, it's all just a capture.
Who virtually work there on a 24-hour basis.
It's all right.
He's a son.
It's not going to happen.
Of a consultant to President Akufo-Addo. And so the conflict of interest, the agenda setting.
There is no conflict of interest in this government. Have you ever heard anything about conflict of interest?
And so it is so glaring. Look, apart from the commissioners who are all MPP members, right from Jane Mensah to Bosman Asare and what have you, they have demonstrated that even the technical people that they've employed as consultants are affiliated to the MPP. And so there's no way we can trust these guys to do a genuine job. There's no way.
Right.
You don't create a problem and say we should allow it to come and deal with it alone.
The people on the streets are saying there must be change, and change they must. That's all there is to it. Somebody came and you came. You must go, and somebody else will come. It's as simple as that. You don't have to force your favorite person on us. We don't want him.
Right. I'll do some more messages. Good morning. My name is Abdul Majid Kelly, Communication Officer, United Cadres Front, Dome Kwabenya Constituency. NDC's push for accountability from the EC is crucial to fostering confidence in the electoral process. Thanks. We are ready for them if they joke. No bagawaya. Right. This one here also says that my name is Joseph Mukaso Abiro from University of Ghana, Legon. What the MPP and the EC should know is that none stands to gain from violence and mayhem in Ghana come December. It should not take rocket science for the EC to do the needful. Countries were once peaceful and descended into chaos and mayhem because of the reckless actions of leaders at the helm of affairs. An attempt to swindle the people's mandates in Ghana will bring about, your guess is as good as mine. All right. Thank you so much. Randolph Dauphin says, good morning, bless. Randolph Dauphin from Freetown, Sierra Leone. My regards to you and your panelists. Bless. My advice to all Ghanaians is for them to keep the peace which that country has been known for. Let no politics, no tribal conflicts, nor religion separate your genuine intentions as a nation. Remember your nation, your national anthem. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. All right. Thank you, Randolph Dauphin, and good morning to the people in Sierra Leone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Right, this one here says, please, talking about Galamsey, our great King Otumfuo 82 the second is doing his best as chief. He destood some chiefs because of the Galamsey issues. What about Nanado and Dr. Baumia? Let's be frank to ourselves, there will be a big problem in future. God save us. Kucho Manshazungo in Kumasi from Kumasi. All right, thank you so much for your message. Good morning, Pan-African TV. The EC's attitude shows signs of rigging the election, and they should know if the country turns out in flame, it will affect them and their family. It is better for them to collect the discrepancies to correct the discrepancies. Yes, for peaceful and transparent election come 7th December 2024. From Amos in Asim Fosu. Thank you, Amos, for your message. We do not have so much time, but let's quickly look at Galamsey. Let me start with you, Ms. Rhoda, on this issue of Galamsey. It's been pervasive, but it appears that now, and I don't know why now, but it appears that all of a sudden we are starting to talk about it again. So what happens is that I see that there comes a time where we talk about it so much, then it dies down, then it comes back again, then it dies down. But we all know the excesses, the ravages that the illegal mining has caused or is causing to our environment, our water bodies. If you go to the central region, for instance, a lot of people do not have water. The Ghana Water Company Limited have come out to say that production has reduced by 30%. They are doing 40% now. And we know that a lot of people are feeling the brunt already. The president has set up a 5-member ad hoc committee, and
what ad hoc committee does he want? So, he should bring Professor Frimpong Boateng's report and work on it.
And just implement it.
Work on that, Mr. President. We don't need any committee of drinking tea. Just make sure that Professor Frimpong Boateng's report is adhered to. That's all that is implemented. Look, you know those who are doing the Galamsey. You know them. They are within your party groupings. You know them. So what is all this? The reason why we talk about Galamsey and then we go to sleep is because the media is not helping us. Media people go in there and afterwards, when they are satisfied, they go and sleep. That is what happens. But Galamsey is killing us. You read reports of children being born without limbs, children being born without eyes, children being born with lesser fingers. And it's because the big dudes, the elites, those who are actually benefiting from this Galamsey are not the ones who are being abused by these things. So when you look at it, all I can say is that let's take Frimpong Boateng's report and work on it. President Akufo-Addo has less than 3 months to be in office. When the Movement for Change and Alliance for Revolutionary Change is voted into power, Galamsey, we will make sure that every single person that was involved in Galamsey is held accountable. They will refund whatever they have made out of this, and we will reclaim the land with that. But first and foremost, I keep saying that, look, you would have to sit them all down on a table and give them 1 glass of that Galamsey water. That is enough punishment for them.
Bread to it.
Yes, 1 glass of that Milo-looking Galamsey water for them to drink, and they will know what the villagers and all those ordinary people who are working alongside there, the people of Cape Coast, the people of whatever, the type of water that is coming down their taps, then they will get to understand. They are buying Perrier water from abroad and drinking in their homes. They have got all forms of machines pumping out their waters and filtering their machines for them in their homes. So they don't know how those people are feeling. Do they know how those people are going through life? So please, let us put the Frimpong for starters. Let us put the Frimpong Boateng report and implement it. And Napo is saying what? We should political parties should come and sign a pact or something that they would deal with Galamsey. What is it? Political parties are the human beings in that political party. We are all in it. Yeah. So we will all have to sign. It's not only political parties. Yeah. All of us as Ghanaians.
Stronger institutions.
Yes, stronger institutions, civil society organizations, chiefs. Everybody will have to sign that pact that no more should we be doing this kind of crazy environmental degradation without thinking about the next generation. It is not right. And we don't want any committees anymore. Those kind of tea drinking things, we don't want it to. One committee and it will be millions of Ghana cedis.
You know, right?
Yes, right. I'm 30. We don't want it.
Bless, the issue of Galamsey and its impact on us as a country is ravaging. You know, whether you are looking at the health impact, the economic impact, or whatever perspective that you want to look at it from, you would come to just one conclusion, that Galamsey is threatening our very existence as a people. They say when the last tree dies, the last man dies. Today, Galamsey is rife in 14 out of the 16 regions of Ghana. What it means that only 2 regions in Ghana today is not having Galamsey in those regions, only 2. So in 14 of our 16 regions, Galamsey is ongoing.
Those 2 are?
It should be Greater Accra and Volta.
Volta, yeah.
Greater Accra and Volta. And
maybe we haven't checked.
Well, that's what the data speaks to about, that Galamsey is rife in 14 out of the 16 regions. Yeah. The Ghana Water Company has told us that because of the activities of Galamsey, there's too much silt, to the extent that they have reduced their water production by 50%. What it means is that more and more people are not having access to safe drinking water. If you want to have the feel of what we are going through as a country, just get a filter to fix into your tap at home, and you will see the water coming from Ghana Water Company, the silt, the dirt, the chemicals. That I mean, you'd say it, you know, your white filters within 5 minutes will turn brownish. Now we're also being told that about 19,000 hectares of cocoa farmlands have been destroyed by Galamseyers. The data also indicates that about 3.5 of agricultural lands have been destroyed by the activities of Galamseyers. 8 out of every 10 kidney diseases is from the mining areas where Galamsey is rife. We are being told about the defects, the deformities that children are born with. Bless, you know the costs, implications for individuals who are suffering renal and other related issues, because the chemicals that are used in the process of washing their gold, cyanide and mercury and what have you,
they sent me a video.
They affect
about cyanide actually leaching. Wow. Yeah.
They affect our organs. If you live in Accra and you think that you don't care, and that you don't live in a Galamsey prone area, aquatic life is destroyed. So the fish you are consuming in Accra, you don't know where that fish is coming from. Those chemicals begin to accumulate in your body and begin to have impact on your health. You are aware that Kolebu is our premier hospital. It's the last referral hospital in Ghana. How many times have they closed down? the renal department at Kolebu, even for people who have the capacity to pay, were not able to access the facility and had to die. That is what Galamsey is causing to us. But why have we not been able to deal with the issue of Galamsey? Why is government not able to deal with it with all the military might of the state? The answer is very simple. The people that we have elected and mandated to fight it are those engaged in Galamsey. How do you fight something that you are benefiting from? That is not possible. It is trite. Everybody knows that. There are several reports. There's this Erastus from Multimedia, your sister station, Joy and is it Love in Kumasi?
Yeah, Love.
Erastus, just a single journalist, has done a lot of work to expose the extent to which Galamsey is affecting our lives and how pervasive it has become. That's just one individual. Now, government says that, in 2017 or 18, they formed the same interministerial committee that had about 9 ministers on that committee. 9, not 5. In fact, they added a presidential staffer, Charles Bisu, as a secretary to that committee. Apart from this committee, the chief of staff was supporting the activities of this committee. We were told that this committee of ministers were going to deal with it. They came with what they call Operation Vanguard and Galamsey. What has been the end result?
So just
what has been the end result? The evidence that we're confronted with is that the so-called military men, the Operation Vanguard men that were deployed, were only deployed to go and provide security to the Galamseyers, because those involved in the Galamsey were members of this regime.
Yes.
And so they deployed their own men. They tell them not to act, and in some instances provided them with security against the indigents. I mean, we've had that evidence. Erasmus has shown us videos of that. We have seen the report of the former minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Professor Frimpong Boateng. And in that report, he was very, very categorical that party officials at the national level, MPP party officials, to regional and to constitutional level officials were all involved in Galamsey. This is a minister appointed by Akufo-Addo, who submitted a report to President Akufo-Addo. In fact, in one of his interviews, he indicated that in Chebi, just around the President Akufo-Addo's house, just around his wall, the regional youth organizer of the MPP was doing Galamsey, and that he, as a minister, had to dispatch men to go and do reclamation in that area. President Akufo-Addo's house. Just last week or last 2 weeks, we all woke up to the story of how they were mining on the Accra to Kumasi highway, just around Kunungo. Not in the bush, just by the roadside.
We've lost it.
Today, 13 of our major rivers, 13 of our major rivers are fully compromised. 13 of our rivers, about 32 of our forest reserves are destroyed. In fact, just yesterday or so, Honorable Ablakwa gave us another mind-blowing revelation that between 2009 to 2016, during presidency of President Atta Mills and President Mahama, only 56 licenses were granted. Mining licenses were granted. In the last 7 to 8 years of President Akufo-Addo, about 1,500 have been licensed to go and do mining. Why? Were we not here? Were we not here when Akunta Mines, Akunta Mines, owned by Chairman Wuntumi, was seen mining in the Tano Nimre forest? Investigations revealed, and in fact, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Abu Jinapo, came out to confirm that he wasn't given any license to go and and mine in that forest, and that he was engaged in an illegal mining.
Yeah.
What has happened to Chairman Wontumi? In fact, a few days later, after the confirmation by the minister, President Akufo-Addo took to the podium and said that Chairman Wontumi was not engaged in any illegal mining. And so it is very clear that we are unable to fight it because the very people who are supposed to fight it are those engaged in the illegal mining. The only opportunity that we have as a country to end illegal mining and all the negatives, all the things that we've complained about in the last 8 years is to kick out this wicked, clueless regime. And that is what Ghanaians are prepared to do come 7 December.
Right. And
will resist any attempt that would make that dream come into fruition.
Right. Thank you so much, Honorable Abdulaziz. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you.
Unfortunately, we couldn't discuss my topic.
Don't worry, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, make sure you discuss
I'll discuss it. Thank you so much, Madam Rodley Nayana, for the movement for change. And
yes,
it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Unfortunately, our third guest couldn't join us, but I want to thank you, all our cherished viewers, for your time this morning. Always a pleasure to come your way with this edition or with this segment of the show. Tomorrow, though, it's a Wednesday. What I can promise you is that you can look forward to a good show, an excellent panel here on Good Morning Africa. As always, do have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.
We are asking the Electoral Commission to avail the register for possible systems and forensic audit. We insist that must be done. So far, the Electoral Commission is only telling us that they have corrected it without providing us evidence. We want to see what they have corrected. Okay. Why are they evasive? If they have nothing to hide, why are they running away from this? This is basic. Okay? So
Truly African.